Cajun capital of the world. I'm the average Lafayette, Louisiana kid.
See, I'm back on my...
Hey, fellas. Hey, Raging Review Dad. Congratulations. Say what's up, y'all. Yeah!
People that have courage don't have no extra gene. There's no difference in you. The difference is, are you going to sit down when it's time to stand up?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another edition of Ragin' Review. What is going on, boys and girls? It's a beautiful night. At least it is in Houston, Texas. I'm sure it's a beautiful night down in Louisiana. Hopefully it's going to be a beautiful night in Jonesboro this weekend. I don't know. I heard some rumors that there might be some weather coming through, so that's going to be interesting. We will chat with a good friend of the show, Kara Richey, in just a bit. She'll give us the lowdown on the Red Wolves of Arkansas State. Before we do that, boys, I missed you last week because, I was tired of driving, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to take a night off. No, honestly, I had work stuff going on, and you guys held down the fort, as Jerry would say, very nicely, I might add. But it was actually kind of nice this weekend not to have to stress over anything. Didn't have to get pissed off at the Saints. Didn't have to get pissed off at the Cajuns. It was an Acadiana High won. I think for me, it was a successful weekend, boys. How y'all feeling? Did you also have a good week there, Coach Dez? Want to be over there?
As long as the streak is alive, Coach Dez is alive as well. No, we're good, baby. We're good. Acadiana High, like you said, got 2 big wins. I actually took the week off last week as well. So last time I saw you guys, Acadiana was fighting for a district title. Took care of Karen Crow twice, and now we get to play St. Aug at Tad Gormley Stadium in New Orleans on Friday night. So a lot of good things happening. Going to have a tall task in front of us with the Purple Knights, but really looking forward to going down there and seeing what the Veer machine can do.
Josh is running a little bit late, boys, but I do have to ask him a question about flag football when he does join the show a little bit later. In the meantime, let's thank our sponsors. When we come back, our friend Kara will be on the show, so stick around. We'd like to thank the following partners who make Ragin' Review possible. Our title sponsor, the Best Stop Family Market, with locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, and of course the official location opened in 1986 in Scott. Visit the Best Stop and ask about the Ragin' Review tailgate platters. Gulf Coast Bank, title sponsor of the Tailgate Show every Saturday, 3 hours before kickoff. Planet Radio 106.7, Lafayette Roofing, The Yard Goat, Yes Please Branding and Marketing, Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette brought to you by Lafayette Travel, Ragin' Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed. And we'd also like to thank our Patreon sponsors listed here. For only $2 a month, you too could have early access to uncut interviews before they air here on our shows. You also get an exclusive Patreon icon next to your name on Cajun Threads, the official message form for Ragin' Review. If you are interested in joining as a Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/Ragin' Review. Thanks to all of our corporate and Patreon sponsors for making this show possible. Thanks once again to the Best Stop Cajun Market locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Broussard, Karen Crow, and of course, the Best Stop Supermarket, the OG mothership in Scott. Kara, they are the official cracklins of Ragin' Review. I just want you to know that, okay? I know, do you like boudin cracklins, first of all?
Look, I'm a little out of it when it comes to some of the Cajun food. Boudin, sure, I'm on board.
All right. All right. We'll take that. We'll take that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We love having you on here. Kara is with 95.3 The Ticket out in Jonesboro, Arkansas. So you're kind of a big deal out there. We appreciate you making time for us. But first, I want to just kick it off with the rivalry. You know, ASU, when they were the Indians and the Cajuns were maybe the Bulldogs, and then, you know, the USL Raging Cajuns, this rivalry has been going back a number of years. We know each other very well, and it started kind of getting chippy during the Blake Anderson era. It's like these two teams started to really dislike each other, and that turned into sort of a rivalry in football and across other sports at that point. It seems to have simmered down just a little bit, and I don't know if every team is going to win at home when they play is going to hold true. I know that hasn't a couple of times in the last few years. But talk to me from an Arkansas State perspective, looking at the Cajuns. Is that still a strong rivalry on your end?
I think so. And you're right that it has died down quite a bit. I think that neither Blake Anderson nor Mark Hudspeth had any issues stoking those fires a little bit, and the players kind of leaned into it. We're at a time now where, of course, rosters are really, really different from year to year. So if you played against somebody last year in Lafayette and they really pissed you off, they might not be on the roster anymore. So some of that animosity kind of probably fades a little bit. But in terms of from a fan perspective, I still think that the Cajuns are right up there as being considered one of the top rivals for A-State. A-State doesn't necessarily have a natural geographical rival. There's only one other. I'm reading the comments on the screen, of course. There's only one other FBS institution in the state, and that's Arkansas. And the teams have Lord knows how many years of combined football between them, and only played for the first time this season. So the Cajuns are a good rival there. Memphis a little bit when they pop up on the schedule from time to time. There's a lot of people, of course, in this fan base who have been around for a little bit that are ready to hate Louisiana Tech with the fire of 1,000 suns again. So that will be on the list. But yeah, the Cajuns are up there, and a lot of people are hoping and looking forward to this team, this A-State team, potentially getting, bowl eligible against the Raging Cajuns.
We are welcoming the hate. I think we will join you guys on that for sure. That will be a common enemy. Speaking of, getting into bowl eligibility, the Cajuns are looking for that too. And this is do or die for them for sure. Arkansas State's season is kind of like Louisiana, and Josh, he's not here tonight, but he made a really, really good point. We both kind of had to evolve because for us on the injury front, it's been just ridiculous. And I'm sure we'll talk about our roster issues going into this game and what you guys think about it. But it's like you guys defensively kind of had to change a little bit to make things work. And look, I know the defense is struggling a little bit right now, or at least on paper they are. But you've kind of had to evolve the way that you guys are winning games, as is Louisiana offensively. We've had to kind of change the way that we do things to get things back on track for us. Do you kind of agree with me in that sense that Arkansas State has kind of had to evolve as the season has gone on to get really where they are in a 4-2 record in conference?
Yes and no. I think they more than anything just settled in. This team, I don't know how many newcomers are specifically on the defense. The roster overall has 71 newcomers. There is a new defensive coordinator. There is a completely new defensive staff. The defensive coordinator this year was the only holdover from last year's staff, and he just had one room there as the linebackers coach. They tweaked the scheme a little bit. So, of course, they tweaked the terminology quite a bit. So everything on the defense this year was new. And you had very few seniors that returned. The entire interior of the defensive line was new. The linebacking core was new. Most of the secondary, just new. Everything was new, right? So at the beginning, it was kind of a mess. The first 4 or 5 games, really, week 2 was against Arkansas. That was horrifically bad. Week 3, you did better against Iowa State, but yet at the same time, it's not like there's some offensive juggernaut. You didn't expect a lot of points there. And then you get into conference play, and Texas State was a good first 3 quarters and not a great fourth quarter. But over the past few weeks, we've really seen this defense kind of settled in. They allowed 27 points last time out against Southern Miss, but that was a game where the offense just kept giving the ball back to the Golden Eagles. So the defense had a lot of moments where they actually played well considering the situations that they were in. But I'll throw out a stat. I love my numbers. The first 5 games of the season, A-State had 7 sacks combined. And now in the most recent 5 games, they've got 18. So they've just been able to play a lot better. They've been able to get pressure up front. And of course, if you're able to dominate in the trenches, that makes everything better for the guys on the back end. So there's been a lot of growth there. There's been a lot of good things that have happened. Not too much different with the personnel, just a lot of guys that are actually playing together now as a cohesive unit and playing a lot better.
Yeah, Kara, speaking of cohesive unit, let's talk a little bit about, of course, it feels like he's been there forever, but Jalen Rayner as well as Corey Rucker. I mean, that quarterback receiver duo, it has to be top notch as far as Sun Belt conference play goes. That's kind of a duo that I'm dreading tomorrow night, to be honest with you, based on some of the suspensions we have in the secondary. But, Jalen, he's had 656 of his, or should I say Corey Rucker has 656 receiving yards out of Jalen Rayner's, 2,454 yards. And Rayner has only had 1 touchdown on the year despite those stats. But Corey Rucker, he has over 1,000 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns last season. I mean, it's just, that duo is unbelievable, and I'm hoping for more rain tomorrow night to kind of stop it. But I do have to ask, that duo, what makes it work? Like, what makes it click and makes that off? Because it's part of the offense that makes it really go. When they're on, that offense is unstoppable. What makes that duo click so well?
Well, part of it is that they're both just individually really, really good players. I mean, Jalen Rayner is a very talented quarterback, good passer, good with his feet as well. And then Corey Rucker is just kind of that stereotypical number 1 receiver that you want, that guy that wants the ball in big situations. It's late in the game. You've got to get a conversion or the game is over, and you go to Corey Rucker and he's going to come up big for you every time. So that's a big part of it. But these guys have just had a really good camaraderie since Jalen Rayner got on campus. Obviously they spend a lot of time working together, even when it's not practice situations. So that's a big part of it. They've got a good chemistry. Jalen Rayner is one of the reasons that Corey Rucker came back. Actually interviewed him. I don't know what day it is this week, with this being a Thursday game. But I talked to Corey Rucker at some point in time earlier this week. And, he actually went through his senior day ceremony last year because this is his bonus super redshirt COVID senior season. So he had the option to leave, transfer, go to the NFL, whatever. And he said, talked with his family, talked with his coaches, talked with his quarterback. And that was part of the reason that he decided to come back. Kind of an interesting note with Corey Rucker that is not really what you are asking about here. But I went back and I looked at that game that was in Jonesboro 2 years ago that Arkansas State won. And it was kind of one-sided, which you guys paid A-State back last year. But in that game, kind of interesting, Corey Rucker was held without a catch. And that is the first time at home that he's been held without a catch since 2021. So I kind of wonder if he is thinking about maybe some kind of payback for how that one unfolded the last time the Cajuns were in Jonesboro.
So right now, speaking of that duo, Arkansas State ranks 48th in passing offense, but the Cajuns rank 65th in the country in passing defense. But with that, like I mentioned before, we'll be without a few of our key defensive guys, especially in the secondary, due to the suspensions that happened from the fight against Texas State 2 weeks ago. What do you see, and how can the Red Wolves passing game exploit that defense, our defense, based on those suspensions?
Well, it's going to have to be guys not named Corey Rucker that step up, because obviously he gets a lot of attention. I mean, he's the leading receiver right now, the leading active receiver in FBS yards. He just set the new Sun Belt mark. I mean, everybody knows who that is, right? So if everybody covers him and nobody else steps up, well, then the receiving game, the passing game isn't going to do a lot. This is going to have to be, I think, a really good game for Hunter Summers, who has shown that he is capable of that. He's had some big moments this year. He's the number 2 receiver for A-State. And then Chauncey Cobb is kind of one of those, he's maybe small in stature, but he has the explosive playmaking ability there out of the slot. Really, really fast guy. But he was maybe more of a factor, Cobb was, early in the season. Teams have kind of started to neutralize him a little bit and do a little bit of a better job defending him. But it has to be a good day for those two guys. And then maybe A-State can get some more going there from the tight end group. That's been a unit that's been really hampered this year with injury. So probably have not had the catches that we would see had they had all been healthy. But, really, it's just everybody's got to get involved. It can't just be a one-man show from Corey Rucker for A-State to be able to take advantage of a depleted Cajun secondary.
Kara, you talked about some of the defense stepping up the last 5 games or so. Who are some of the guys that have stepped up on defense for the Red Wolves?
I just really like watching this defensive line right now because they've got a good multi-headed monster. They're about 4 deep at defensive end. They're about 4 deep at the interior. So you've got just this really good amount of guys where you're always able to put fresh bodies out there. Poor Tucker Kilcrease, man, of Troy. That dude's ribs are still hurting. A-State got to him for 9 sacks and it was 12 tackles for loss that game. But the one that stands out, A-State has an interior defensive lineman that is maybe a little reminiscent of Forrest Merrill, who was at A-State a few years back. If any of your listeners, watchers, whatever, remembers who that is, but just a beast on the interior. But Cody Sigler literally picked up Tucker Kilcrease and did a WWE body slam. So he's a lot of fun to watch. The guys on the interior don't usually get quite enough love, but like Cody Sigler, Simeon Mitchell, all of those guys are doing a great job. And of course, if you've got to figure out who you're putting, what body you're putting where on the interior guys, then somebody's going to get free. And Ethan Hassler has been a joy to watch this season because it is his 5th-year senior season. The past couple of years have been cut short by injury. He's had, I don't know how many knee surgeries. He's back. He's healthy. I don't know what was necessarily expected from him this year because of the knee surgeries, but he has just been really, really good. And he's going to bring the pressure. But that being said, having a quarterback who can run around, not a little bit, but a lot of it and evade that is a pretty big deal. So it'll be interesting to see if A-State is still able to get to lunch at all.
And going back to Jalen Rayner for a second, he's thrown 13 touchdown passes, but he's also thrown 10 picks.
Yeah.
What has been attributed to the large number of picks this late in the season? Is it not a lot of time in the pocket? Is it something else that's popped up on the other side of the ball that he just has to force it?
No, I mean, 4 of them came against Southern Miss. So that was just a bad game. One of those was a Hail Mary situation, but one of those was an in a game situation. So that has kind of inflated the numbers pretty significantly because of how that game unfolded, which had tipped to Southern Miss. I mean, after that game, I don't know if they do this week. I haven't looked this week, but they led the nation in interceptions. Like that's what they do on defense. They were able to do that repeatedly against A-State and Jalen Rayner. It's not that it's necessarily been one thing, although I don't think this team has been quite as successful for A-State in terms of the deep ball, maybe as I thought and I hoped they would be. There's probably been a little bit that's been forced there throughout the season because this team has not maybe been the greatest at generating explosive plays. So I think that some of it has probably been just a little bit being forced, some mistakes that I'm sure Rayner would like back. But yeah, the numbers against Southern Miss, it inflated quite a bit. A-State turned the ball over 6 times in that game. So it is what it is. It was an opportunity there where A-State for a lot of that game played better than Southern Miss, but ultimately obviously did not win.
So what is the weather situation for tomorrow night? Have they come up? Is it not going to be good?
Yeah, it sucks. No, it's when I looked earlier today, it does look like maybe the chances of rain taper off about game time, but I mean, the tailgate is going to be a big soggy mess. The senior day stuff is probably going to be a big soggy mess. Really, the only positive out of it is the fact that the chance of thunderstorms are earlier in the day. So hopefully we won't have to sit through both a 4-hour ESPN production and a weather delay, because that would just be, I would like to be home before midnight tomorrow night if possible. Man. So,
how many baseball tournaments have I worked that we had a lightning delay for like 8 hours and then we're playing baseball at 2 a.m.? I mean, yeah, that's bringing back some bad memories just thinking about it. I'm kind of sensing, and I'm looking, you were talking about turnovers. I think you guys fumbled 16 or 17 times this season. You got back 7 of them. In a messy weather situation, does that concern you a little bit as far as their inability to protect the ball sometimes? Do you think that will be to our advantage, or do you think that's just kind of like a one-off thing and you guys have moved past that?
have kind of mixed emotions about this. A-State has already played a weather game this year, and it was just a few weeks back, and it was against Georgia Southern. And that was a game where it did not start well for A-State. There was an interception early in that game. There was I can't remember if it was, I don't remember if it was a turnover, but there was a bad snap, and it was like you guys remember the Louisiana Tech.
Oh yeah, second and 83. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not, thank God, an 83-yard loss, but you're just watching. It feels like things like that when they happen, you almost feel like you're watching in slow-mo, right? Like it's a third down and the ball goes 30 yards that way, and you're just going, oh my God. So there was like a couple of weather things in that game that were not great, that A-State kind of beat themselves a little bit. But the hope is that they've been there, they've done that. Ultimately, they played really well in the last 40 or so minutes of that game. They beat Georgia Southern by 10 points. So again, you've been in those conditions, you've won in those conditions. So hopefully that will be the thought process going into tomorrow night.
Butch Jones, in his post-game comments, mentioned attendance. And I'm sure, I mean, not to your guys' fault, it's going to be bad tomorrow night. I mean, it's a midweek game and the weather's going to be terrible. And hopefully you guys do have a solid fan base show up. But it's sometimes it just happens. I mean, we opened a new stadium. We had 14,000 our last home game. So you never really know. And I think in this day and age of streaming, we got to stop hammering each other over attendance. I mean, that's just kind of how things are at this point. But something that's really impressive is that Sports Center will be there, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about ESPN, what they're going to be doing on campus, and what kind of exposure that will mean for Arkansas State.
So this is something that is, I didn't realize this was a thing because I am busy in the afternoons when this is on from 1 and 2. So I can't watch TV and talk at the same time. I'm a disaster when I try and multitask. So I don't watch this when I'm in studio, but this has been a thing that ESPN has done. When they've gone out and they've done these midweek games, they've done Sports Center on campus. So ahead of this week, last Thursday, that was the nationally televised game at Old Dominion. So I watched their Sports Center on campus production. It looks really cool. It's like a mini college game day, which we all watch as college football fans. So a little bit of a scaled down version of that, just an hour. But they of course they're students out there with the signs and things like that. Because it's going to rain tomorrow, they are moving it in an inside location where it was going to be out on Heritage Lawn. But they're asking the students to bring the signs. They're going to have people there. The pep band is going to be there. Butch Jones is going to be there, cheer, dance, all of that stuff. So it'll be a pretty good production. I will not be there. I will be in studio. So the entire second hour of my show tomorrow is going to be me watching Sports Center, telling our listeners what is going on.
So it will be a mess, in other words.
I'm going to be doing Sports Center play-by-play between the hours of 1 and 2 p.m. tomorrow on the Ticket Radio Network, if anybody wants to tune in for that.
I think I might have to. I was really looking forward to seeing you with a sign, something like, where is Cayenne, or something like that. I think that would have been great.
We actually asked for a question of the day last week, like what would your sign be? And we got a couple really good ones. Like one of them was like Michael Desimo drinks beer through a straw. I liked that one. And then of course a lot of people are like, it's still USL to me, those signs. And then of course I still love, I'm obsessed with the story of Cayenne. Don't ask me why, but I was like, there's got to be like a Justice for Cayenne sign. So hopefully we'll see some of those sprinkled in the crowds tomorrow.
For sure. I look forward to the creativity. By the way, your dog did make it on the broadcast earlier. I saw. What's the dog's name? I know you mentioned it before.
Come here, bud. This is Crash Davis.
Davis. Yes. How can I forget? Best movie of all time. There he is. He always seems to make an appearance. That's awesome.
Well, here's the thing, and it's my fault because I have to hide his squeaky toy, or that's all you'd hear in the background. Like you wouldn't be able to hear me. It'd just be like a squeaky toy for it would drive everybody crazy. So I took it and I set it behind me. And then of course now he thinks we're going to play, and he doesn't realize that it's not, constantly playing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we only have a couple more questions, and then you can go back to Crash Davis. Your thoughts, what does Arkansas State have to do or execute on tomorrow night in order to get the win over UL?
I think they just have to be consistent offensively, which has been a little bit of a struggle. I don't know if there is a better offense in the country in a 2-minute situation than Arkansas State football, but you're playing 28 other minutes in each half before that. And it's been a bit of an issue just to consistently make progress. Sometimes this offense looks like, in those situations, it looks like it could do anything. And then sometimes it looks like this offense is just making it so hard on itself for reasons that are tough to understand. So just being able to consistently move the ball and stay on schedule. Don't have a 1 yard gain on first down and then have an incompletion and then constantly put yourself in where you're in these 3rd and long situations. That's been an issue. So stay on schedule, stay consistent on offense. And then I really don't know what the key is to corralling Lunch defensively. And that's something that really makes me nervous. There's a reason that a lot of teams have dual threat quarterbacks now, because those guys are tough to slow down. And I have nightmares about what Arkansas's Taylon Green did to this defense. I have nightmares about what Old Dominion's backup quarterback did to this A-State defense in the season finale last year. This has not been a defense that has been good at corralling dual threat quarterbacks. And so that makes me nervous. So to oversimplify it, just stop Lunch and it'll be easy.
I think that's kind of been the key to, since Lunch has been quarterback, is stop Lunch, make him one-dimensional. You talked about Kara last night. Tomorrow night about the rain. I was talking about last night because I did see the forecast last night and looked like we mentioned earlier, it is going to be pretty soggy out there. But I wanted to ask you, Arkansas State, and we've talked about the passing game, but how is their rushing attack in a situation like with weather? Because I'm going to be honest with you, I hope it pours. Yeah. I hope it downpours in Jonesboro, because I do feel like that can actually benefit the Cajuns' rushing attack. Does Arkansas State have that type of rushing attack that can complement their passing game in case of bad weather? Or have you seen it lately in these last 5 or 6 games where they've improved offensively?
Well, it's kind of been it's the consistency thing. You go back to Southern Miss, and in the first half, A-State did not run the ball well at all. They made a little bit of a change on the offensive line going into the second half because, A-State had been a little hampered up front, nothing near what you guys have been dealing with, but a little bit hampered. So in the second half of that Southern Miss game, they went back to what had been the original starting offensive line, and the A-State's ability to run the ball in the second half was significantly better. The game against Troy, A-State did not run the ball well. But then you go the game before that, which was the Georgia Southern game, the game where it was a big rainy mess, and A-State just exploded, had a phenomenal day on the ground, had a pair of 100-yard rushers for the first time since like 2016. I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 260 yards on the ground. So when it's going, it goes, but it's just the fact that it's been kind of inconsistent. I do think with the offensive line being back intact to what it was originally at the beginning of the season, that there should be the ability to run the ball there. But again, this is an offense that at times has made life hard for itself.
Kara, last question got for you. I know a lot of people fly into Memphis and then drive over to Jonesboro. We will have a bunch of Cajun fans there, rain or shine. So hopefully they represent well for Cajun Nation. Tell us a little bit about where in Jonesboro they should visit as far as restaurants or maybe watering holes.
Sure. I do like to remind people, because I know especially people in your neck of the woods have no idea what this means, but Jonesboro is in a dry county.
I forgot.
Which means, but here's the deal. I always make it a little bit more dramatic than it is. So if you need to bring a cooler with you to your tailgate, you will need to stop before you enter Craighead County and load up that cooler, okay? But if you run out of beer while you're at the game, you can buy a beer at the game. You're going to be fine. Like every place in town sells alcohol. They just don't sell Sixers. So that's the dry county aspect of it. There's a lot of places right by Centennial Bank Stadium. There's J-Town's Grill, which is pretty much across the street. They've got, great burgers, great fries. They've got the Social, which is not too far down the street. That's that's like bar food. They've also got a bowling alley in there, or a small 4-lane bowling alley. And that's a good spot to hang out. I spend the post games at the Embassy Suites, which is where I do my show. They have a lobby bar. It's a great place to people watch. They also are a dog friendly hotel. So I just hang out and drink beer and watch dogs and people and football fans. And that's a good time. We do have a couple of breweries. They're not necessarily close to campus, but there's some good spots. Downtown Jonesboro has a lot of good spots. Omar's Uptown. If you want a steak while you're in town, really there are a lot of good places to go. So don't let the Dry County thing scare you. You can still have a good time and eat and drink well while you're in Northeast Arkansas.
Thank you for that clarification. Kara Richey with 95.3, The Ticket in Jonesboro. Hey, if you could do me a favor before we ask you to give, where we can find you and especially where we can find you for that pregame show, could you get some of your fans to like start talking crap with me on Twitter? Because I've triggered entire fan bases, including that school, 60 miles down the river from us. We got to get something going with the fans on Twitter, man. You guys they're not aggressive.
I think this year our fan base really likes to fight amongst themselves on the message boards. So it really, I don't know if they have the energy.
I understand that completely.
Yeah,
okay, that makes a lot of sense.
That same energy now to opposing fan bases, which is really a disappointment. I think back to the glory days of this rivalry where there was almost a full-on brawl in Louisiana, and multiple players got reprimanded, coaches got reprimanded, the entire Sunbelt officiating crew got suspended. Like, bring us back to the good old days, man.
Yeah, those were the good times. Tell us where we can find you, Kara.
I spend entirely too much time on Twitter, so if you need more Jonesboro food recommendations or have any other Dry County questions, it's at Kara_Richey. In terms of on air, Monday through Friday on the Ticket Radio Network from noon to 2, that's 95.3 theticket.com. Tomorrow will be a super busy day. I will have my regular show, and then I will host the pregame show, the Arkansas Ford Dealers Tailgate Show across the EAB Red Wolves Sports Network. Do believe we're going to have a visit with Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill, but I'll be on from 4:30 to 5:30, kickoff at 6:30. And then I will host the post-game show, Wolf House, from the Embassy Suites on 107.9 K-Fine. So, and
I will send you some messages that you can pass on to our friend Keith Gill when you see him at your pregame. You might not want to ask him those questions, but I'll still send it to you anyway.
I don't know if I want him to like walk out of the booth. So I might keep those to myself.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for joining us. Awesome as always. And we look forward to hearing more of you tomorrow.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite, guys. Always a good time.
Thank you. All right, guys. How awesome was that? Always great talking to Kara Richey. Yeah. I mean, she gave us a pretty good rundown of things we can expect tomorrow night. That makes your job a little bit easier there, Coach Dez. But before we do that, is there anything that jumped out at you, Cole, in the conversation offensively, which you're about to kind of review for us?
No, I was more so interested to see what she had to say about their running game in the weather that they're going to be playing in tomorrow night, because that is what's going to come down to. If they're able to throw the ball effectively and that weather that's coming in, a credit to them. I mean, Jalen Rayner and, Corey Rucker, they're incredible together. But unfortunately for them, fortunate for us, with this bad weather coming, I think it's going to be a ground game. I'm not expecting a whole lot of points. So y'all ask great questions to her. Can they hold on to the football? Can they protect the football? Because we know what we can do on the ground. We have two bell cow running backs and Lunch Winfield that can carry the rock at any given time. So we're going to be okay. So great job there. And I was, surprised to hear what she said about their defense, about how basically everything is new and it was just an evolving piece from start to finish into what it is now. So that was a lot of good insight from a defensive side. But no, she's a wealth of knowledge for Arkansas State. A pleasure to listen to for sure. But no, that was the main thing I was listening to, is just, can they run the football in a bad weather game? And to her credit, they said they were able to do it a couple weeks ago against one of the Georgia schools. Was it Southern? So I'm sure they're going to try to want to duplicate what they did a couple weeks ago against the Cajuns.
Good stuff. Cole, if you want to get into the defense, I'll try to pull up what Josh had to say. The offense. I'll try to pull up what Josh had to say last night. We were doing some recording. But if you have anything else to say on offense, or if she covered it all, then we're good to go, man.
Yeah, I mean, I can, they're going to run this spread offense that is a very fast tempo. I know she mentioned that they, when they get into these 2-minute drills, they're very successful. Well, it's because their entire offense is a 2-minute drill. It's one of the fastest offenses in all of college football. And that's a credit to Jalen Rayner, who's been there for 3 years. But no, she mentioned, Corey Rucker, who's an all-conference selection, going to go down as one of the best statistical wide receivers probably in their school history, probably in all of the Sun Belt history, honestly. And he's complemented very well by Chauncey Cobb, who's their slot guy, and then Hunter Summers, who is their opposite wide receiver. So they got a very good 3-receiver rotation that can do a lot of great things for them. But the weather is going to be the X factor tomorrow night, as I've mentioned. They got 2 running backs that carry the rock, Kenyon Clay and Devin Spencer. Kenyon Clay is going to be their lead back. He's a Southern Miss transfer. He leads the team in carries as far as running backs go. Now, Jalen Rayner technically leads the team in carries, on the team. He's their main running back, if we're being honest. But they're going to run that 2 running back system. You're going to see both of those guys carry the ball tomorrow night in the bad weather. And their tight end room is a little quiet. She mentioned their offensive line is kind of a mismatch at the moment because they're trying to find pieces that work. Obviously not as big as ours is, as she mentioned. But no, overall, she did a fantastic job. Last thing I'll mention is this offense is built to throw the football. 2/3 of their yardage on this season is from throwing the football. They're not known for running it. I want to say they're 74th in the country in total offense, which is pretty much dead average. And but the one thing, or the 2 things I should say, that's going to slow them down is turnovers. They rank 120th in the country with 18 turnovers in 10 games. That's pretty bad. And then they actually are 102 in the country in sacks allowed with 24. So if they want to, drop back to pass in a bad weather game, the Cajuns might have an opportunity to get to the quarterback. But like I said, I expect both offenses to keep it on the ground, establish the line of scrimmage, and I'm expecting this one to be a very tight ball game. It's really going to come down to what defense plays better.
Yeah, and speaking of defense, let's go through some comments that Josh had last night about the Arkansas State defense. Let's see what he had to say. Yeah, especially that now we've learned how to convert those turnovers into points. We got to continue that trend this week if we want to have a chance to win. All right, Josh, let's take a look at the Arkansas State defense. Some interesting numbers on that side of the ball. Tell us what you see.
Nick, to be honest with you, the defense is not impressive. It's a bottom 20 defense. Total defense, they're 113th in the country, allowing almost 420 yards per game all the way around. Third down defense is porous. They're 100th out of 136th. And I can continue to bore you with these stats, but I'll give you this. The only thing they actually do somewhat well is red zone defense, where they're 28th in the country, allowing 0.788% conversion rate. And that's, obviously touchdown and field goals together. But overall, this defense allows you to run the ball. They allow you to pass the ball. The only thing they're able to do is get you off the field from time to time. They're kind of middle of the pack in getting you off the field. And their offense has been able to kind of control the football to cover up some defensive inefficiencies. So shout out to the Arkansas State offense for helping out the defense. Because without Rayner, without that rushing attack, the defense would be completely strung out to dry. And we mentioned the turnover margin. What's really great about this team, and it's not been talked about very much, their specialists have done their job. They're a top 10 specialist team overall in the country, actually top 10 on the number, punting-wise, net punting, field goals made, kick return coverage, punt return coverage. They've done a really nice job, their specialists have, of making up for some blemishes on the stat sheet for Arkansas State. And, it's not surprising. They've actually been pretty good on special teams for quite a while.
All right, good comments from our boy Josh, who wasn't able to make it. He might still hop in a little bit later. He just kind of got held up at work a little bit. But boys, I don't know if it was just me. Jerry, I'll ask you, knowing that they've struggled defensively, Kara kind of feels like they're on the back end of that and they're getting better. But she does show a lot of concern for their ability to stop our quarterback, Lunch. I mean, again, like you mentioned, every team has concern about stopping Lunch Winfield. I just feel like with their issues in the secondary and with their issues in stopping a running quarterback and what it might look like tomorrow night weather-wise, this is all playing into our advantage. Even though, and we're going to look at the depth chart in a second with all the suspended players we have, you kind of have to feel good about going into the game the way things are stacking up for us.
Well, we've as much as we've complained about the lunch packages where we've done the the quarterback keeper with lunch, tomorrow night with this weather may be the perfect opportunity to run him 25 times, right? Mix him in with Zylan Perry, mix him in with Bill Davis, mix him in with just a rushing attack in this weather. Because look, when it rains, I mean, you guys know it's hard to throw a football. It's hard to run a route. It's hard to catch a pass. It's hard to make a tackle. So I think in this situation going into tomorrow night, that's why I asked Kara that question, because obviously we know Arkansas State, when Jalen Raynor is on in his passing attack, he's on. When you have a guy like Rucker to throw to, they're on. But when weather starts to interfere a little bit, that does play into our hands, because really the one consistency we've had all year, in spite of the 4-6 record, is our rushing attack. We have run the ball very well all throughout the year. And tomorrow night, we're going to need it more than ever if it's going to be a wet game. So no, I agree with you, Nick. I think that's a huge factor going into tomorrow night. And with those lunch packages and lunch left, lunch right, tomorrow night may be the night to utilize it more, considering the weather and the circumstances.
I still say the biggest factor in this game is going to be if Arkansas State can protect the ball, because again, they've had 16 fumbles on the season. That's a lot. And, I get some of those might have come in one game and that some of it was on bad snaps, but still, like 16 in a season, that is something, again, in bad weather, Jerry, that we got to capitalize on.
I want to just give you a magic number tomorrow night that I was thinking about going into this show. And with
if you say 6'7", I swear to God, no, I'm kidding.
Anyway, yeah, I know. No, a magic number I want everybody to think about is the number 31. Okay. Since the conference play started, Arkansas State had the most points they've given up is 30, which was to Texas State. And of course, they came back and won that game in the last minute. Since then, they've given up less than 30 points in conference play. So their defense has gotten a little bit better over the last 4 or 5 games, as opposed to when they played Kennesaw State early on and Arkansas early on. So to me, if we can get to 31 points tomorrow night, because I really feel like in dry weather, this is going to be a shootout. But if we could score 31 points tomorrow night, which I know our offense is very capable of doing, I think we're going to win the game. So I think that sweet spot to me is you got to try to get to 31. It's going to be tough to do on the road, but if we can do that against their defense and maybe force some turnovers defensively, like you said, they're susceptible to some turnovers. I think we will win the game tomorrow night.
Thanks to Kevin Foote and his wrinkled ass depth chart that we're looking at right now. Guys, we have a lot of guys. And again, you look on the left side for the first time, and I'm not going to say for the first time this season, because last week we were relatively healthy in this regard as well. Still no Blanco. I mean, I would love to have Stephen Blanco Jr. in for this game, especially what's going to probably be a very heavy run game. But Daryl Smith out there in his absence. But up and down the left side of this depth chart on offense, it looks good. Probably the best it's looked all season. Again, you got Jax at right tackle. I need Jax to perform better than he did. He got beat a couple of times last week. That I mean, he got real beat on a couple of plays. But that happens throughout the course of a game when you're taking the number of snaps that you do. I really don't want to see Lunch run the ball out of an empty backfield. I know RC and I, that drove us both crazy last week. You just give Lunch the opportunity to get injured on those plays. I don't want to see him run out of an empty backfield. But when you look at the right side, there are a lot of names on here that you may not have heard. Lake Bates, for one, that I know he's gotten some playing time this season, but he's going to be taking the place of Cortland Flowers. I mean, we can go down the list of all of the players that got suspended. Jalen Clark's going to be stepping in as well at free safety. Brent Gordon Jr., man. And we got to also give him props on that. The top 20, I think it's a top 20 defensive freshman or just freshman overall. Whatever it is, man, that guy's a dude. As a freshman, he is just, it's like after the Missouri game, he has just been an absolute beast out there. Fitzgerald West Jr. played well last week. I know Josh mentioned that. I need Fitz to have a good week again. But when you consider that the biggest losses really are at the safety position, and we've got 2 solid cornerbacks that I think we can count on. I mean, Cole, I just think if the safeties can play, and again, we're looking to have more of a running game type of situation this weekend, but especially against Rayner, the safeties have to play discipline. They've got to stick to their assignments. They can't be looking the other way when they're supposed to be providing over the top coverage for our cornerbacks. That's going to be the key to this game, in my opinion. What are your thoughts there, Cole?
No, absolutely. You got two guys in this defensive backfield that are freshmen. You got Brent Gordon Jr. and Lake Bates. I mean, I know Lake Bates is a redshirt freshman, but a freshman. So not ideal, but you just made a great point. It's going to be a rain game where going into this game, running the football is going to be a focus. So that puts a lot less strain on your defensive backs. Now, one of those freshmen, to your point, Brent Gordon, was listed as ESPN's top 20 freshman in college football. He can hold his own as well as any senior cornerback in the country. But yeah, Lake Bates, haven't seen a lot of him. And what we have seen, we've seen some flashes. But here's the good news, and I'm always going to spin something into a positive. With all the suspensions that have happened and everybody, moving pieces, and especially on the defensive side, it opens up an opportunity for young guys to get an opportunity. Make the most of it. I don't care if they're throwing at you. I don't care if you got to run fit. Just be in your position. And if you make a mistake, do it going 100 miles an hour. I can never fault effort, right? Nobody ever can. But that's the bottom line defensively. You don't have to play perfect defensively, especially with how our offense has evolved, Nick. And we talked about that last night in good depth. Earlier this year, we were just hoping the defense can make enough stops. That way our offense can generate enough points to make it a ball game. That has completely flipped with Lunch taking the reins of this offense. But it's something that we're not talking about is the emergence of Samson. Samson from the week 1 against Rice to Samson the last 3 weeks is a totally different athlete. It's a totally different wide receiver. So not only did we gain an X factor at quarterback, we got an X factor at wide receiver. It's almost like we got 2 brand new players that just showed up halfway through the season. And this is why you're seeing this offense come to life. But bottom line, tomorrow night, we are going to go back to the run game. And I keep saying that because, the weather. Bill Davis, Island Perry, Lunch Winfield. I think if we can get to 200 yards rushing and win the turnover battle, that bodes very well in our favor. We are a run-first team, no matter how you spin it, and that plays heavily on the Cajun side tomorrow night.
Lane, in your opinion, what do we got to do to win tomorrow night?
I'm hoping it's another type of scenario where we had against ULM a few years back where it was a monsoon and we did nothing but run the ball. And we had, I think, 250, 300 yards rushing and blew them out. Now, I don't think we'll blow out Arkansas State. But I feel like if we can get 200 to 300 rushing yards, I think we have a good chance, like Cole said, at winning the game.
We can blow out Arkansas State. The question is, will we let them come back in the fourth quarter? That's the question right there. We can score points. But are we gonna go into this defensive mode where we play zone defense or play no defense, get beat? Again, our safeties aren't playing the right coverage. We get beat over the top. We can't miss assignments this weekend. Jerry, your thoughts? What do you think we have to do to win tomorrow night?
Well, 2 years ago when we went to Jonesboro, they scored on the first drive and they hit the ground running, and we just couldn't catch up with them. I think tomorrow night we have to set that tone. The last 2 games we've played between Texas State and South Alabama, we're the ones that have thrown the first punch. We got to throw the first punch tomorrow night. I don't think we have room, and we talked about it a little bit last week. The last 2 weeks, we have taken our foot off the gas in the third quarter. And tomorrow night, this is a game where you have to keep foot on the gas until at least late in the fourth quarter, because this is an Arkansas State team that can respond really fast. All I have to say is ask anybody who watched that Texas State game between Arkansas State and Texas State. When Texas State scored with like 30 seconds left to go up ahead, Arkansas State marched like 80 yards down the field in like 20 seconds to win that game. That's the type of high-powered offense when they're clicking that they have. So just like against Texas State when we played them a few weeks ago, those 1 or 2 touchdown drives, they'll play touchdown drives where our offense lost that rhythm. You can't do that tomorrow night, especially when you're on the road against a team that has known to beat you like that. So that's one thing I will say that this coaching staff's going to have to do tomorrow night is foot on the gas. Don't try to run clock. Don't try to get conservative in the second half. This is not South Alabama where Des said in the second half, well, we decided to focus on the run game because South Alabama's offense wasn't as high powered. This is a high powered offense. We're going to have to play just foot to gas. Even if you're up 20 points in the, early fourth quarter, score again. Score again. This is, and especially we don't have leverage because we have defenders, key defensive players like Cortland Flowers and Skip that are out. So don't give them any leverage and then throw the first punch, force some turnovers, stick with the run game like you said, Cole. I think we'll be okay if we can do those things.
Game is tomorrow night, 6:30 on the mothership, ESPN. Don't forget you can catch the Gulf Coast Bank Tailgate Show 3 hours before, so that's at 3:30 on Planet Radio 106.7. Josh, Cole, and I go through a rundown. We get deep into stats, PFF grades, all that good stuff. That's tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 on the Gulf Coast Bank Tailgate Show on Planet Radio 106.7. Boys, let's switch gears and talk about basketball. And not a great week for the Cajuns. Going back to Friday of last week, traveled to McNeese to take on the Cowboys and dropped the game 88-62. And gotta be honest with you, did not look competitive whatsoever at McNeese. And then traveled to Stanford last night. Gave us a little bit of false hope in that first half, man. We're about 4 minutes left. We're thinking, okay, we just took the lead on Stanford. And then Stanford went on like a 20-1 run. And then, that was it. Ended up losing that game 93-66. Jerry, talk to me, man. I know we had high expectations for Q, but I also know that we're patient because this is a really a program rebuild. And you've also got some guys who were injured, not on the court. So that's going to make a difference as well. But talk to us about what you saw these last two games and why we should keep the faith and keep the hope for the season going forward.
Well, first of all, we're in year one of a brand new coach, brand new team. I think this is, I understand everybody throws this idea out that, well, we gave this much money to NIL, and I get it. But basically giving money to NIL now is keeping up with the Joneses. If you look at what McNeese has thrown in their NIL budget, I want to say they have over $1 million, which is almost double of what we have for our basketball team. McNeese is building off of what Will Wade has done in 2 years. So to go there and am I surprised that we lost? No. But am I surprised by the way we played and as poorly as we played and as sloppy as we looked? Yes, I was. I think that McNeese came out and just dominated us. I mean, they just have bigger guys in the paint. They beat us on the inside. They just nailed a bunch of three-pointers early on and they pulled enough of a big lead to where by the middle of the first half, we were down by almost 20. And when that happens with a brand new team, you still, you're without your main point guard, you're without some of your bigs. It just, at that point, you just don't know how to react to it. And this is a young team. This is a new team. I mean, just looking at some of these stats, we had 4 field goals in the first half in Lake Charles. That's 8 points. Couldn't score. We were 33% from the field. They were 53% from the field. We made 6 3-pointers, most of which were like in garbage time. They made 10 3-pointers, most of which were in the beginning of the game. That's a 21-point difference right there. I'm sorry. That's a 12-point difference right there in 3-pointers. Now, free throws, we actually did pretty well. We were 20 for 23 from the free throw line. As you guys know, I've been very critical of lack of free throws. But one thing that their bigs did, they blocked 8 of our shots. I mean, Overa probably had like 4 shots that were blocked by himself as he was driving down the lane against that defense. They just dominated us in size, and it showed. Assists. McNeese had 19 assists. We had 6. They killed us on the boards. And then on top of that, points off of turnovers. They had 25 points off of turnovers. They killed us in transition. It was 25-11 on points off turnovers. So just everything about that game was it was probably one of the worst losses I've seen to McNeese, probably in my life. But, again, they're building off of what Will Wade started. And I'm going to tell you guys, that McNeese team might win 30 games this year. Again, no excuse for us to lose by 26. It was kind of embarrassing. But I also understand what McNeese has compared to what we have. And, again, they probably double our NIL budget. So it sucks to lose to them. It sucks to lose to them like that. We're going through growing pains, unfortunately, and they've got a well-oiled machine that they've built over the last 3 years, and that's just kind of, I think it all just kind of combined itself for what we saw in Lake Charles on Friday night.
Yeah, I agree. And look, they have some guys who are, I still think White Gravy is gonna be a damn good player for us this season. Of course, I'm talking about Jackson Oliveira, which I think that is the funniest nickname. And I mean, I thought it was a joke, and then I think the official account started tweeting something out about that. So White Gravy is my favorite player this season, but looking forward to seeing what they can do again when we get some of the guys like Keller and others healthy and back on the court. You get into conference play, which is really where things are going to heat up for us. And then you got to be impressed with the recruiting that he is doing, which I know you talked about NIL, Jerry, and I think he's got that part figured out, because we're signing the number 1 player in Louisiana, another number 36 player in the entire country. These are some big name. These are some big name dudes who are coming to the Cajuns next year. Holy cow, dude.
Look, you can recruit. Let's be real. I mean, he's a good recruiter. You just have to put the team together to make sure they gel. I mean, like last night, let's talk about the Stanford game real quick, and I'll give you a rundown of that because there's some points I want to make about last night. Those first 15 minutes of the game, like you mentioned, Nick, that was what I've seen of what we're capable of. The problem is that we just can't maintain it. And early on, I mean, we didn't make a three until late in the second half. I don't think we attempted a three-pointer till late in the second half. Meanwhile, Stanford, they made 11 three-pointers last night. They were 11 for 31, but we were only 2 for 9, and 2 of those three-pointers came in like the last 5 minutes of the game. Guys, that's a 27-point difference in threes. And so I find that when playing McNeese, playing Stanford, when you're playing against a bunch of guys with good bigs, they can dish the ball out, because now for our defense, we have to focus on everything where they've left some wide open shots. And so I think the same thing happened last night against Stanford. They just start on a 17-1 run or whatever it was before halftime. They nailed like 3 back-to-back three-pointers. I mean, that's a 9-point turnaround in a minute and a half. And you go play an ACC team like that, you're not going to respond. You're not coming back from it. Not to mention free throw line. Once again, we go from 80-something% against McNeese to 59% from the free throw line. We're still having trouble shooting free throws. And especially where we have opportunities to have those N1 baskets, we miss the free throw. And that's kind of frustrating to watch, because we have to make free throws. Stanford was 80%. They had 28 for 35. They went to the line 35 times to our 17. 27-point difference from a three-point range. And then it's an 18-point difference from the free throw line. That's what? 27. That's almost a 40-something point difference right there. So it's those little things that affect us. They had 14 assists to our 4. And then last night as well, I thought we got into a lot of foul trouble early. We had 29 fouls. And I feel like the lack of an inside presence, especially defensively, has cost us a lot of fouls. And look, Jeremiah Evans, I've seen he's developing. I've seen some promise from him last night. He looked well improved. Not to say no disrespect, it wasn't saying much, but he did look better. I got to give a shout out I have to give a shout out to Joshua Lewis, true freshman. That 4-star stature that he had coming from Tampa makes sense. Watching him drive down the lane against an SEC competition in Game 6 of his collegiate career, that dude's going to be going places. We have to do everything we can to keep him. He looked really, really good last night. So I did see some positives, but once again, you lost by over 20 to a Stanford team that I thought we could have gone toe-to-toe with. You just say, I just think right now we just have a long way to go. But I'm not giving up on this team. I don't know about you guys. I mean, I'm not giving up on this team. They're a work in progress. It's tough to watch the growing pains. I just want to let everybody know, when Bob Marlin took over, this first year we were 3-14 with a loss to Texas College. And then we ended up going on an 11-game win streak to finish the season, I think like 1 game below 500 or 500. So I do have faith that Coach Q is going to figure it out. But look, the growing pains, it sucks. You know, I'll look at Billy Napier's first year, right? Started the season 1-3, lost to a bad Coastal team. You're gonna have growing pains. So I'm not ready to give up on this team yet. I do think we have a long way to go before conference play. There's gonna be some nasty games coming up. But I think once conference play hits, I do think we will be a little more improved than what we're seeing now. I mean, look, our schedule is not easy. I mean, you went to Stanford last night. You played a McNeese team that will probably be in the tournament again. You played a Tulane team that's probably going to go dancing this year. I mean, you've got Santa Clara this weekend, another team that's probably going to go dancing. So this is probably one of our tougher non-conference schedules in a while. And we're doing it with a brand new team and a team that's still trying to learn about each other with the injuries. So, you know, I don't want to sound too much like a sunshine pumper, but at the same time, I mean, the reality is that we are going through some growing pains right now, but I don't expect this to last.
That's all I wanted to know. Santa Clara is the next team on the Cajun schedule. They will face them on Friday night at 9 p.m. Central. So, that's a Pac State conference type of scheduling item that Texas State can get used to, watching their teams play at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. So have fun with that. UC Davis is another team in California that the Cajuns will play on Monday at 8 p.m. in Davis, California. So looking forward to see how they perform in those two road games as well. Turning our attention to other sports around the complex. Unfortunately, the volleyball team missed out on the conference tournament by one game. However, I think they've got 8 or 9 freshmen on that team or newcomers to the program. So I think they're going to be much improved next season. I think they were improved this season. Still looking to get 1,000 in Earl K. Long Gym, but when you consider that they're drawing over 900, very impressive. The community has bought into Christy Gray and what she's doing there. We just got to get to the tournament. If we don't do that next year, I think then we need to start talking about what needs to change in the program to get us to the conference tournament. But volleyball with a lot of young players, a lot of young talent, a lot of really good talent miss out by one game. So hopefully next season will be much improved. Unlike women's basketball, let's talk about that, guys. And look, women's basketball is not a big sport to us in Lafayette. It was exciting when Jay Kelly Hall was here. I mean, remember that Jay Kelly Hall made this team, you know, Gay Knicks for years. She had us in the dredges of college women's basketball for a while. God bless her. I loved her, but it was not a good situation. Jay Kelly Hall came in, clean house, you know, just got us an at-large bid to the NCAA tournament. Absolutely crazy. So there is the potential for success in that program. And I like Coach Broadhead, but at this point, you've got 12 players on your roster and 2 assistant coaches. And you're getting blown out by the likes of, I mean, who were some of the teams that we got blown out by this season? We did beat Mississippi College, so that was good. But we got blown out by Bowling Green, lost to Delta State 76-68. I mean, speaking of blowouts, number 4 Texas lost 100-38. We got beat by Nichols 66-64, and then we traveled to Memphis on Tuesday. So there's a lot going on with the women's basketball program. I guess, you know, we could dissect that at another time, but we got to do better there. And I don't know if Coach Broadhead has the answers. He looked defeated on his presser this week. Hopefully he can turn it around. But again, with 12 players on your roster, with 2 assistant coaches, it's going to be tough for a turnaround this season. And I don't know what the future looks like for women's basketball. Let's look at softball, because that is something that Terry is relying on for his sanity, as he has told us many, many times. I'll throw the schedule that was recently released up on the screen real quick, and we can look through some of the teams that will be traveling to Lafayette to visit next year. Of course, we're going to have the Louisiana Classic and the Ragin' Cajuns Invitational. Those are going to be the first 2 weekends of the season. Don't have who the opponents will be for those quite yet. In fact, none of the tournaments on the schedule indicate who we will be playing. We will be playing at Florida State. We'll be playing at the LSU Purple and Gold Challenge. We'll be playing at the Louisiana Clash with McNeese, and then hosting Northern Iowa, hosting Texas State, McNeese, Troy, LSU, Coastal Carolina, Marshall, and that's it. Not a very strong schedule. However, you also have the 2 tournaments that we'll be hosting, and then the 2 in-state tournaments we will be traveling to. So I will pause on that and not say that we have a terrible home schedule this season, because there are a lot of games that still haven't been identified and a lot of games that we will play within driving distance. Boys, looking at the schedule, I guess, Jerry, you're the big softball guy. Tell us a little bit about what you think of the schedule, the home schedule coming up. Love, again, seeing TSAB come to Lamson Park, and I'm sure we're going to make the visit there as well. But just talk about what we're looking at here and what you think of the home schedule this season.
I mean, there's nothing that really stands out about it, but at the same time, I mean, last year you missed a regional for the first time in over 30 years, almost 30 years. And so I think this season is a good year to just get everything back in order and just find ways to win some games, build some confidence in this team. I mean, I know we have some newcomers coming in. I just think we need to utilize this schedule in a way that we can just get some wins and learn how to win like we always do. And so, I know there's people that are disappointed because there's no flashy name coming to town. I just want to win, man. Like just find a way to weather the storm with this schedule that's in front of us, and just find a way to build momentum and learn how to win again. So I'm not worried about it too much. I think that's exactly, honestly, for what we've experienced last year, getting blown out by some of these top 25 teams. I think this year it's just a year to make things right, especially in conference play. I mean, we lost at least 7 games last year in like the last 2 innings. This season, we can't do that again. Cannot happen. And I noticed I think we played McNeese in one of the fall ball games, and they crushed us. Can't happen. Cannot happen.
We've got some work to do, but I trust in Coach Alley, and we'll see what happens in the spring. But looking forward to Diamond Sports. I'm not going to say already, but I'm always looking forward to baseball no matter what. But certainly, anticipating hopefully some good seasons from both baseball and softball. Turning our attention, and this is kind of I don't have this on the rundown, guys, so I'm going to hit you from a different angle. But these are a couple of hot topics I wanted to throw out there for some quick takes. First of all, Southern Miss and Texas State, boys. Who saw that coming? And I think Josh, look, give credit to Josh, because he's called out Southern Miss for not being as good as they think they are, and maybe what others may think they are. I mean, I still think that they're a solid football team, and they are the best that the West can offer this season, but they were exposed against Texas State. You can call it a letdown game, but when you get blown out by a team like Texas State, I think that exposed them a little bit. I'll start with you, Cole. Your thoughts on that big blowout game last week?
Well, when you have an offense as explosive as Texas State, even on a down year that they had, and I mean, even to Phil Steele's credit earlier this year, he picked them to win the West, and honestly, I think he might have done that.
Phil says that every year, so throw that out the window.
I know, but I'm just saying, I think he was taking into account. This is where we expected this offense from Texas State all year long. And honestly, you saw it in the second half of our game, and it just continued into the Southern Miss game. Maybe they figured something out. Who knows? The point I'm getting at is that they have arguably, when they're functioning, maybe the highest powered offense in the entire Sun Belt, especially with Bo Sparks, who is an animal at wide receiver. But yeah, they just continued what they did against us and laid the wood to Southern Miss. Listen, we shot ourselves in the foot a ton in that Southern Miss game. I said it on our post game that I thought that we had a very decent chance to win that game, and we just kept giving it away. Now, is Southern Miss a good team? I think they're pretty average, and the Sun Belt West is very weak this year. They're the best of a bunch of weak teams. Maybe they got exposed. Who knows? But bottom line, as far as last week's game goes, Texas State and Southern Miss, Texas State just kept their foot on the throttle and really put it to them. I know Southern Miss got their hands full in the upcoming weeks. I know they finished their season with Troy, which will probably have a lot of implications when it comes to the Sun Belt West. They gotta pick up the pieces and figure it out for this week, though. But that's not my headache. That's the coaching staff and the people in Hattiesburg. They got to figure it out. But yeah, you got exposed to a Texas State team that didn't have a Sun Belt win up to that point.
As Terry said, and I agree with him, they're only going to go as far as Braylon Braxton can take them, because that was the constant from last season to this season. And you saw without him, they're in trouble offensively. Brady and Misty Boudreaux saying USM was scared Texas State was going to start another fight if USM beat them. That is a valid point, and I do respect that. My hat's off to you both. Jerry, your hot take question. JMU did not get into the CFP top 25. Instead, Tulane is in the CFP top 25, meaning if Tulane wins out, they're in. JMU is on the outside looking in. I think the committee came out and said, well, kudos to Tulane because they scheduled all these Power 4 teams, and the one Power 4 conference team that JMU played, they lost to Louisville, so that's why Tulane should get in. I mean, they got blown out by UTSA, bro. They got blown out by a conference mate.
Yeah.
So I still look, and there's a lot of opinion out there that JMU should be ahead of Tulane, and I think my opinion, Jerry, is that this is what ESPN wants because they want the Tulane brand that they've been pumping up for the last 3 or 4 seasons. They want the Tulane brand in the playoff. They want the AAC brand in the playoff, and they're going to, whatever excuse you come up with is going to justify them being in over JMU. That is my opinion.
Well, I think when you look at Tulane's schedule, I give them credit. They actually scheduled very well because the two.
But they scheduled this 8 years ago, Jerry.
But with that said, this is where they have the advantage. They, even though they're P4 wins over lower tier P4 schools. Like the first game against Northwestern, they beat them by 20 at home. It's a Big Ten school, right? Even though it's not, Ohio State, it's still to the perception of the CFP board or whatever. They're looking at that going, well, that's a Big Ten win. You add that in when they beat Duke, same thing, right? Duke, I think, was ranked in the top 25 coming into this year. Their quarterback went to Duke, and they beat Duke, who, for the most part, history tells us that Duke's not a powerhouse, but Duke in the last 5 to 10 years has been pretty respectable as sort of a middle of the pack P4 school. So those 2 wins kind of helped their resume a little bit. And then on top of that, they were on national TV. They go to Memphis and beat Memphis. I think Memphis was ranked in the top 25. Now, granted, Memphis, were they great? I don't know. But that looks really good on the resume as opposed to the teams JMU have beaten. I think it doesn't help, like we just talked about, the Sun Belt West being weaker, right? It doesn't help that our conference is weaker this year. It doesn't help that there's more parity in our conference, because if you really think about it, the American Conference does have some good teams. I think North Texas is in the top 25 for the first time. Memphis was in the top 25. So they actually have some good teams this year. Now, at the same time, losing to UTSA, 2 losses, I'm kind of like, well, Tulane, I'll put it to you like this. I think JMU has more upside right now than Tulane. Because if Tulane loses another game, they're out of the race. They're not going to give a G5 3-loss G5 team a chance at the playoff, which includes the American Conference Championship game. So they'll have to win that championship game to have a shot. I think JMU has a better chance to win out than Tulane does. And this weekend, JMU hosts, and I know we like to laugh about it, but they host Washington State, who is a Pac-12 school, and I know it's the Pac-2, but perception-wise, that can actually help JMU perception-wise, saying, look, you beat Washington State, which will complement maybe a Tulane win against Northwestern or Duke. So I think right now I would probably give Tulane the upper hand, but I do think the upside belongs to JMU because I do think JMU has a better chance to win out because, again, Tulane loses one more game. They're not going to give a 3-loss G5 team a playoff spot. It's just not going to happen.
I don't get the love with the AAC. They are the freaking Conference USA of 4 years ago. Like, these are the same teams outside of ECU and Tulane and Temple. These are the same damn teams that were in Conference USA 4 years ago. I don't get the love, but I do agree at the fact that we were stronger 4 years ago because we were beating teams like Notre Dame and like Texas A&M, and there was a lot of, if this were 4 years ago, I think we're having a different conversation. I also think what plays into this whole conversation is the fact that they were embarrassed by Liberty, who should have never been given that spot a few years ago and got absolutely embarrassed by that pick. So I think that plays into it too, because they don't want to get embarrassed by a team that has a sexy record. However, the Sun Belt is a little bit weaker, so we can't possibly do that. We got to go with this team because at least that would give us a little bit of, meat behind our decision.
But JMU has more of a history. I mean, even in their transition year, they cracked the top 25 2 years in a row to the point where they tried to appeal a bowl bid, right? We talked about that. I mean, JMU has more of a history than Liberty does. Liberty came in playing in Conference USA. They go undefeated against New Mexico, teams like New Mexico State. They beat New Mexico State in their championship game. It's a little bit different for a team like Liberty that basically played UTEP in Middle Tennessee as opposed to a JMU team that has already been ranked in the top 25 in the last 3 out of 4 years they've been FBS. So resume-wise, I mean, even perception-wise, to me, JMU was a stronger team than Liberty because of that. I think this time around, though, I look at Tulane's schedule. Those 2 P4 wins against Northwestern and Duke are going to help them a little bit. I think that gives them that nudge. But again, they lose one more game, they're out. And I think the next 2 games, I believe JMU plays, they host Washington State this weekend and they go to Coastal. And I think they're going to, honestly, whoever wins the West, I think JMU's going to win. So I think JMU's got a better chance to go 3-0. I think if they do that and Tulane loses one more game, they're going to get the nod. They're going to get the nod.
Lane, I saw you take yourself off mute. You want to comment on this? Because I have a question for you after.
Yeah. So JMU is ranked ahead of every American Athletic Conference team in every single poll except for the CFP.
Oh, they would be ranked ahead of everybody in the BCS formula.
Oh, I saw that. But also, North Texas is ahead of Tulane in every other poll, and they have 1 loss. Why is North Texas not ahead of Tulane in the CFP?
Because of branding.
It makes sense.
Because of branding, because of past results, and because Tulane went to the Cotton Bowl. That's why. They're the brand. It's the brand. North Texas isn't a sexy brand. JMU, yeah, I guess, but we're not a great conference this year. So Tulane is just served up on a platter for them to go with.
Well, Tulane has more impressive wins than North Texas. I mean, I'm looking at North Texas' schedule right now. They really haven't they beat Navy, which Navy was a conference game. They gave up 6 there. One loss was to 24th ranked South Florida. They lost 63-36. They did beat Washington State, but I mean, I'm looking at their schedule. There's no P4 wins on here. I don't see any of them, honestly. So,
but
in my opinion, 1 loss is better than 2 losses. No matter it depends
what.
To who. It depends to who though, because look, one of Tulane's losses was to Ole Miss, and we all know the drama going on in Ole Miss right now with their head coach, and they're about to go into CFP and they're
trolling everybody. That's so funny, but we're not going to talk about that. But go ahead.
But they lost to a top 10 team. That's a little bit different. And then on top of that, it's just Tulane has 2 P5 wins and a win against a ranked team, where North Texas didn't have one. So I understand where you're coming from, Lane. I do think, but you see, that's why to me, it's like when we were ranked a couple years ago in the AP poll, we were number 16 in the AP poll, but then in the CFP poll, we were 24 or something like that. So there are certain factors that play into it. I'm at the point now where if that's how you're going to measure rankings, then at this point, you might as well just let the AP and the coaches poll complement.
No,
the CFP
go back to
poll.
the BCS formula, man.
It's just too different. Like there's such different polls and such different factors on how they measure it. I mean, the fact that JMU and North Texas, I want to say they're like 20 and 21 or something like that in the coaches and AP polls, and they're not even ranked in the CFP. That's a problem.
Well, I mean, it also helps when Tulane's former AD is on the committee.
Sure.
You know?
I can understand that. Yeah.
All right, Lane, let's get to your question. Landon Baptiste and Bill Davis on Instagram took a picture at the TSAB game over the weekend when we were not playing. That has caused a stir among Cajuns fans. I will give my opinion first. Who freaking cares? They were not wearing purple and gold. They even said, like, hey, at this game, but UL better than LSU or whatever he said on there. Like, it wasn't a big deal. Kids have friends who play for other teams. Sometimes we've had TSAB players come to our games when they're not playing because they have friends that play for UL. We got to stop thinking of it in a fan perspective and start thinking about it as a kids who play football together and just want to go chill for a weekend perspective. I had no problem with it. Now, if they showed up in some colors, I'd have been pissed, but they didn't. And they were respectful and represented the brand well. Your thoughts? Does that get you riled up? Should fans be upset about this? I'm more upset about the player that was walking around in that gear on campus, but we're not going to talk about that today. Lane, your thoughts on the Baptiste and Davis situation?
Well, I was going to bring that up, but I won't. I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, yeah, they probably had players that they went to school with or played against or whatever that go either to Arkansas or LSU that they were supporting, and they weren't wearing purple and gold. So, I mean, it is what it is. I just think they were having a good time and enjoying the, I guess, time off per se, because they didn't have practice or anything. But at first I was a little upset about it, but the more I thought about it, I was like, they're just having fun and having a good time.
Yeah, who cares? Jerry, Cole, you guys agree? I mean, I didn't have any problem with it. I think it's fine, man. It'd be like if a Karen Cole player goes watch a Acadiana play in the playoff because they're in town. You shouldn't be chastised for going to watch football somewhere.
Exactly. Like, you know how many times, and yeah, if you want to take it to that lower level, that a team will play on a Thursday night and then they'll go watch their buddies play on Friday night. It's the same thing. There is entertainment value to going to Death Valley. I mean, and if you want to knock that or try to knock that, you're an idiot. You know, it's fun to go to Death Valley and watch the entertainment value of it. I'm not even talking about the product on the field. I'm talking about everything, the whole, tailgating to the game itself. So no, it's not a big deal at all. I mean, if you want to be a Cajun homer and knock the two of your better players on this roster, you're an idiot. So no, I have no problems with going enjoy yourself on a bye week, whether it's at LSU or whether it's anywhere. Just they went enjoy themselves with friends, girlfriends, whatever. So they're kids. Let them be a kid. Let them be a college athlete, and let them enjoy their damn lives.
Jerry, final thought.
Yeah, I mean, and Cole, you can relate to this because you do play-by-play at Acadiana. When I covered high school football, it's a different world from a fan's perspective because players are going to have each other's backs no matter where they go. I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but like players still text other players at other schools, even if they're playing against one another. It's a very different world than what we see as fans on social media, and whether or not they're supposed to be blind, like just pure allegiance to your school. Just because a UL football player goes to an LSU game does not mean that all of a sudden they're going to start chanting "Go Tigers." They're just going. They might have had Bill or whoever might have had a few friends on the team, maybe playing for Arkansas or LSU, and they wanted to go see them. I mean, like you said, Nick, there have been LSU players who have gone to UL games to support their friends. It is what it is. Sometimes maybe they just want to get out the house and go watch a football game. I mean, so it's definitely a different world from a player's perspective as opposed to what the fans see. Cole, you've seen it. I see it. When I covered high school football, very different world. And sometimes you have to kind of separate those two factors and not try to get so emotional about it. Look, if they want to go to a football game in Death Valley, the hell with it. Go have fun. Enjoy your Saturday. No big deal.
Listen, I got invited to Karen Crow's live coaches show.
I heard that. What was that?
No, I got invited as an Acadiana representative to go in their live coaches show on Thursday, and guess what? They showed me nothing but love. So, like, if we could do that at a lower level, like Acadiana and Karen Crow, if you're just gonna sit there and gripe about two Cajun players going to enjoy themselves at LSU, I mean, I got nothing for you, dude. You're just miserable.
Yeah, they showed you love because they said some stupid shit a couple weeks before, and they and they got the gris put on them, and their production went down. So.
I'm gonna leave that where it is. We squashed that bug, luckily.
Be the bigger man there. I appreciate it. All right, Lane, it's time for Lane's Lines. Let's look at what you got for this week, and of course, we're gonna look at what your what you've been doing for the rest of the season. I'll go ahead and add it to the stage. Tell us what you got this weekend, man. Unmute yourself, bud.
So A-State and UL started off as a 2-point spread, I believe. Then it hopped up to 3. Now it's a 2.5. I think A-State's just the 2.5-point favorite because they're at home. With the weather, I don't see the over-under of 53.5 happening. I would take, if I were betting on UL, which I haven't done since the beginning of the season, I would take the under on that one. The money line pick that I have is Texas State over ULM. I almost decided to do the spread, but that's a pretty big spread even against ULM at 17.5. With the over of 57.5, if Texas State's offense plays like they've been playing the last 2 weeks or so, I think that over will probably hit.
Yeah, I think that's an easy one right there.
The Arizona State and Colorado game, I'm surprised that Arizona State's only a 7-point favorite, just simply because of how poorly Colorado's played this year. So that's why I went with the Arizona State -7, and their game is 46.5, 48.5. The random, I guess, game that I decided on for the over-under, I found the lowest over-under number and just went with the over because it seemed to work the last couple of weeks that I've done that. So 40.5 for the Nevada-Wyoming game is what I went for with that.
And plus, Jay Johnson is calling the plays at Wyoming, so you know they're going to put up some points, right? Let's look at your overall.
The fighting Josh Allen's.
There you go. Good point. Let's look at your record on the season. I mean, you were 2-1 last week, 2-1 the week before. I mean, you're doing pretty well, Lane. It's not terrible. I think you've got a pretty good record at this point, right?
I think it's 19-17 overall. I'm hoping for the last 2 weeks to get 3 wins across the board. That'd be great. I don't know what my picks are going to be next week, but I'm hoping that this week I can pull out another dub for sure.
Can I just say one thing before we go? Did I see that right? The Cajuns and the Red Wolves over-under is at 53.5. Dude,
Yes.
smash the under. That is free money. There's no way we're getting to that with the weather that's going in Jonesboro.
Unless the weather comes through earlier than expected and isn't as bad.
Okay, well then still bet it at game time then. If it's game time right before the game and it's a downpour in Jonesboro, that is free money. Anyway, I just wanted to make that point.
Well, the last time I bet on UL, which was the first week of the season, I lost my bet because
You
I
got
bet on
crushed.
UL.
Yeah.
So,
I would never bet on them again. I think Hold DeMayo never bets on us anymore after he did last year. So he's got his little "we'll never bet again." We were on there. I don't blame him.
Smart man.
Time for the Grimmy segment brought to you by Eat Lafayette and Lafayette Travel. I'm sorry to my mom listening. I don't have your audio clip ready today because I reset my whole board. So that we'll get that ready for our next final episode. But for Grammys tonight, of course, with Thanksgiving on the way, and I'm sure something Jerry says about Thanksgiving is going to piss me off when we're talking about how to prepare a turkey. So I got 2 questions for y'all. One, does your family have any Thanksgiving traditions? One of my friends had a tradition that after eating a ton of food at lunch, they'd all go outside and play football, and then whoever threw up first lost. And then they had to do like all the chores the next week or like wash cars for everybody. So that was something. I don't think my family really has a Thanksgiving tradition. We all get together, you know, and as the family grows, people kind of go apart, but we all end up coming together at some point, which is great. I watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles every year. I mean, it's a must watch. That is a Thanksgiving movie. There are not many Thanksgiving movies, but that and Dutch are two Thanksgiving movies. And then the bonus question, the best way to prepare a turkey. I mean, I feel like it's got to be fried, but at the same time, like I like to inject it and do the air fry. That way you still get a crispy-ish skin, but you can have all the chaws inside that makes it all juicy. So I would say air frying a turkey is my favorite. I will go to you first, Lane, because you look like the person who would not have any idea how to prepare a turkey, but you know what you like to eat. So tell me any Thanksgiving traditions and how do you like your turkey?
So growing up, me and my family, we would always go to my grandma's and everybody would meet there. We'd have Thanksgiving dinner. We'd watch the football games that came on the TV. At that time, I think it was 1 game a day. Now it's 3. And then we'd go outside and play football and just throw it around, have a good time. But as the years have gone on, we've kind of like strayed away from that. The last couple of years, I've gone to my dad's for Thanksgiving. And last year, he did a smoked turkey on the smoker. And it's good that way.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You brine that and then you do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I miss from my childhood is when our families would get together. It would be Blu-ray. There would be Blu-ray at some point in the afternoon. That was my favorite as a kid. I looked so forward to that. KG, we got to get some Blu-ray going, man. We got on these, you have Friendsgiving or whatever, like on one afternoon after everything's done, we need to get some boys together and play some Blu-ray. What'd you think about that?
No, that's right. And you get the Crown Royal bags with all the quarters and you get after it. But
call Steve Monte. I bet you he'll come.
Exactly. Trust me. All them old men and Judy's, they know what you're talking about.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it. But tell us about your traditions and how you like your turkey.
So first tradition, basically every year my parents host it. They got a big place out in Judy's that we're blessed with, a lot of acreage. My mom comes from a family with 10 brothers and sisters. My dad comes from a family with 6 brothers and sisters. We pretty much combine it and we have a big Thanksgiving. First off is football. We put on all the games and we watch them all. Second tradition, it's basically musical chairs with who's sleeping on what couch and where, because we all take turns taking naps. And then lastly, usually it will end with some kind of wiffle ball game, kids against adults. The adults hit with their opposite hand to make it fair and fun. That's usually what happens. And then in between, we play like cornhole and washers and bocce ball, if y'all ever heard it. Is a big thing in my family as well. So that's a couple of traditions. As far as turkey goes, how prepared? I like turkey 2 ways, hot and in my mouth. I don't care how you make it, I'm going to eat it. And listen, with how big my family is, we prepare it pretty much each and every way you can have it. On top of the honey baked ham, on top of any other meat you could think of, deer, sausage, this, that, and the other. It's pretty much an old school. If y'all ever been to Rascal's Buffet, and I know y'all are not big buffet people, it's a full spread layout where you basically got to grab your paper plate. You walk from one end to the counter all the way around the sink, around the stove, back around to the fridge. And there's plates and pans of everything. You just got to grab your little plate. You got to walk outside and you pretty much got to stand up and eat because there ain't no room on the table. That's how it is in my family's house. But no, that's a little bit of the Gilbo Thanksgiving and starts and ends with NFL football. Definitely tune into that.
Yeah, we definitely always have that on TV. And Dumatre said he wants a Blu-ray game. You know what? Maybe, look, if anybody's watching and wants to have a Blu-ray game, maybe Friday afternoon. Because, everybody's still doing family stuff Thursday afternoon for Thanksgiving. But a lot of people are off. I'll be off Friday afternoon. Maybe, hey, we get some Rage and Review Blu-ray going. I'm dead serious. Y'all hit me up. If we get enough people, we'll do it.
Well, hopefully the Wrecking Rams are still playing. But that's TBD.
What time are you guys playing? What time are the Rams playing?
So Acadiana's going to play tomorrow night at 7.
It's tomorrow night. I'm glad you told me. I didn't know.
Saying, if we win that game, we'll be playing on Thanksgiving week, and that's one of the goals for Acadiana is making it to that Thanksgiving practice, that quarterfinal game. That's the standard of Acadiana football. But a big game, a big game Friday night against St. Augustine at Tad Gormley in New Orleans. That'll be my first time calling a game from Tad Gormley. I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, we got DJ Menace chiming in. He wants to come. Right, he be doing the jams live on TikTok, getting some money, playing some Blu-ray. That would be legit. Poor Thelma. My mama's watching. Thelma, you can go to bed. You don't have to stay up to watch us. We're going to do our own thing. Let us, y'all can go to bed. My daddy would be so pissed. He hates noise. Anyway, hope he's not watching. Jerry, final thoughts. What is your Thanksgiving traditions and your favorite way to eat a turkey?
Yeah, so whenever my family used to host Thanksgiving when I was growing up in Kenner, and every morning I would wake up, my mom would be preparing in the kitchen, and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was always on. So,
I forgot about that, dude.
Yeah,
that is the thing too. Dude, that's like a must start your day with that.
Have to. And so today, now that we're hosting Thanksgiving at our house since we built this house, we have family coming over. The first thing I do when we go in the kitchen is I turn on my TV to the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Even if it's background noise, it has to be on. And Allie, now that she's old enough to know, she loves watching those big inflatables in the air that pass by and stuff. So we do that. And then by the time we lunch, like Cole said, first thing we do, who are the Detroit Lions playing, right? Turn on to whoever Detroit's playing, have the game in the background while we eat. And then afterwards, we stuff ourselves with food. We go lay on the couch, finish that game. And then I think the Cowboys come on after. And then usually after that, we'll go outside, maybe throw the football or hang out a little bit. And then some family members would stay for leftovers. So it's just eat football, eat more. But no, the big tradition at my house is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. As far as favorite turkey, Nick, I got to go with what you said, dude. The air fryer, crispy on the outside, tender on the inside. And, Usually when you know it's a good turkey is when you don't have to put gravy on top. Sometimes you get that turkey, you don't have to put anything on it. It's seasoned just right on the outside. If I can, it's kind of like fried chicken. If you can do like, you can take the skin off and eat it and it tastes like a chip, it's good. So, wow. So anyway, no, I'm looking forward to it next week, guys. It's great. There are some things that, and Cole, you know this, when you have kids, you can kind of relive your childhood through some things. So that's one thing I look forward to next week is turning on that Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade and getting ready for a good Thanksgiving lunch.
Jerry, I got to ask, do you eat candied yams with your turkey?
God, why? Stop.
Nick, notice I didn't say anything. That wasn't
I know,
me.
because you're not trying to trigger me. That was him.
No. I mean, I'm not going to comment on that. I want Nick to be able to sleep tonight. So
thank you.
I have no comment.
You know who had some good fried turkey was Early's. Not Early's supermarket in Scott. Early's had some good fried turkey. Thomas, you remember little Thomas? He looked like a jockey. I think he still works at New News over there. That dude been working at Early's for like 82 years, and he still looks like he's about 15. That's a nice dude though, but he runs a tight ship.
Go ahead.
No,
Cole.
I was just gonna say, because we were on the topic of food, and it's one thing that's one of my pet peeves. Every year they do the turducken thing for John Madden, and they always, highlight these New Orleans restaurants. Let it be known, A-Bears and Maurice started the
Thank you.
That's right.
Thank you.
That word around, and they don't get enough love for it. I don't know if it's a copyright thing, but A-Bears does not get enough love in the NFL world for being the creator of the turducken. Somebody got to spread that news.
You know what's funny about that? You know how I found out about that? They did a Dateline documentary on it. I remember like 20 years ago, Dateline NBC went to A-Bears and interviewed those people because they created the turducken. That's how I knew about it. They don't talk about it enough. I mean, I don't even know if they have a slogan or anything there that we're the original home of the turducken. I mean, I'd be marketing that like crazy if I were them.
They love them stuffed chickens, and I do too. But
they do. No, their stuffed chickens is really good.
They're a little high dollar, but I love them. But
now I gotta ask y'all when it comes to Thanksgiving as a whole, do y'all how many days does it usually take y'all to eat the leftovers? So like I'm usually eating it through Sunday with our family meals. Like, do y'all go? I mean, is it that much food? Like, how do y'all handle it?
I will say I take some back. My mom Ziploc bags ball back to Houston. Yeah, but we go through. I mean, when you get everybody together, it's a big family. So we knock it out quite a bit, but she sends me home with a nice little care package, I got to say.
For my answer being that it's hosted at my parents' house, I do end up with the brunt of the leftovers because I have a fridge in the house, of course, and then one out right next to me right here. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm the kind of guy that I'll eat leftovers pretty much through the next week. Give it 5 days. So I would say if the Thanksgiving's on a Thursday, of course, I would eat it through the next Wednesday. Because I mean, that's the best food you're going to get. You got the turkey, you got the honey baked ham, you got the rice dress. And I can go on and on. I'm going to stretch that to the following Wednesday.
But
yeah, I usually eat the leftovers the next couple of days, usually, depending upon how much food we take home from my grandma's.
I'm not saying to have anything against sweet potatoes. Okay, let's back this up. We went to the freaking Yambali Festival when I was a kid. My mama loves her sweet potatoes. She does the little chips. She's been telling me for 3 weeks about how good her sweet potato chips are. That's great. I don't have anything against it. My point is, that is the most disgusting looking thing when you got some soggy ass Shaws in some gelatinous Shaws that has all this sugar, and then you're gonna put some marshmallows in it. And Jerry's like, "Oh, I love that. Why?"
I don't know. It's not the gelato. I can eat the yams with some cinnamon and marshmallows and be totally happy. I don't understand why that's the. You know what I'm gonna do, Nick? I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find that deer in Houston and strap the yams to him, and I'm gonna send them to your house as a Thanksgiving gift.
God,
and you and the deer can hang out and have them yams together. How's that?
Green bean casserole. That's another one. Thank you, Satan, for mentioning this. Green bean casserole. Who wants? My mama was talking about. I forgot what she wanted to make. Some some kind of casserole with some vegetable, and I'm like, that's nothing about that sounds good. And she was all about it. I don't understand. Like, this is supposed to be like you eating fat food. I don't want to eat. I'm not a rabbit. I don't want anything green. I don't want green bean casserole. If you have to put fried onions on top of green beans, that means the green beans don't taste good enough to eat them by themselves. So you have to put some on top to make it taste good. That's my problem.
Bacon. Put bacon on top. It'll
Exactly.
change your mind.
Why don't you just eat bacon?
Look, hey, I'm gonna tell you, green bean casserole with bacon is legit. I will fight you to the death on that one. Like that, it's good.
You do the texture. The texture
Really?
of that is not. I can't do soggy ass tasting stuff. It's got to be.
Boys, it's Thanksgiving. See, if you're like me, you just go for the meat. See, I don't need sides for Thanksgiving.
I want the meat sweats, bro.
You give me meat, and then I want to go into a diabetic coma, and I want to eat 95 chocolate chips and a big old slab of triple fudge chocolate cake, and I want to pass out watching a horrible football game with somebody getting blown out. That is the most Thanksgiving tradition that I can think of.
That's a bacon.
I mean, but
bacon,
what about
baby.
okay? So like, what about the desserts? Y'all go for the desserts, right? Y'all go for the pie. Y'all go for the cake. I mean,
I'm not a big desserts guy. I know that sounds crazy, but I'm not a desserts guy. But I do. Yeah, I'm not a big dessert guy. I'll eat a little bit of something, but I'm done.
My grandma usually makes 2 or 3 lemon icebox pies, and we eat it all.
No, see, I'd love to try that out.
And we get a dirt cake, like an ice cream dirt cake, and then we have a family secret recipe of a carrot cake, and it is, I don't know if y'all like carrot cake. Carrot cake is actually my favorite. It's phenomenal. But yeah, dirt cake and carrot cake, big hit at the Gilbo house.
I agree, Satan. My mom did take Tylenol when I was a baby, so maybe that explains it when she was pregnant for me. Going off the rails, we got Satan. We need an old priest and a young priest. Boys, it has been fun tonight. Appreciate y'all being able to join us. Of course, Josh is working late, so he couldn't chime in tonight, but we were able to get the ghost of Josh chiming in his own special way. I'm going to take us out tonight with my cousin. Y'all, this is my cousin. Zachary Richard was my cousin. Can y'all believe that? Him and my daddy, his daddy and my daddy are first cousins. They don't really get along, or didn't. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. For my boy Jerry, for not Coach Dez, Cole, for Lane, and of course for Joshua, who is, I'm sure, listening from parts unknown. I am Nicholas. Y'all, we play football tomorrow night on the Mothership. Looking forward to that. Of course, we will have some sort of post-game show. I will not be making it because it's late, and your boy goes to bed early, but we'll figure it out before then. Until next time, y'all have a good evening. Go Cajuns. I ruined it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. As always, go Cajuns.